Hey everybody, how you doing? You already probably know who I am. I am Patty with either Get Balanced 2020 or the Divine Warrior Intuitive. So I'm coming on here, not by my doing, by Divine's doing, because I don't know if a lot of you know that I have actually been an author of a new you cookbook, and it's actually a daily weight management program. And you'll see, yes, McCarthy, that's my birth name. So, but the thing is, I came on to explain what the book is about because it's not only an older book, but I would like to share, and hopefully it will inspire somebody out there to actually follow their dreams and their goals. And I hope that I could be the one to help you get there as a either life coach, health coach, or spiritual coach. And it's really not about the book itself. It's about what's behind the book and how it got started. So the way that it got started is actually by an accident. So if you know, I'm on Get Balanced 2020. I help people with their mindset, spirit, and body. And that is basically come around by the divine starting in December when he gave me the idea to do that. And also to fall into creating the Divine Warrior Intuitive. But the book itself actually started way back, probably when I was abused as a kid, because I didn't really know what was happening or understanding what was happening. And as I got older, your mindset, if you're in a dysfunctional or you're in a mindset that you're being pushed down, you have low self-esteem, low self-worth, and all that kind of stuff, then actually you are being suppressed to, I guess, to who you actually really are, because you're allowing other people to define who you are. Well, as a young person, you don't catch on to that. You're just living life thinking that you're doing okay. But as you get into your 20s and 30s, you're like, what's happening? Why am I doing these cycles over and over and over again, right? So when I got to be about 30-ish, and I was working for Costco, I was maybe 29 then, but I was working for Costco and I had been catching shoplifters left and right, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, I knew why, but a lot of people weren't. I couldn't tell them because they would have thought I was nuts. So I didn't. So I squashed my inner self and I just caught them and kept quiet. But then during that time, they took pictures of me to put me in the Costco paper because I had been catching all these people, and I saw a picture of myself, and I looked way overweight. I looked unhealthy, and I'm like, this has got to stop. So what I did was I joined a gym, and this actually happened to be a sweatbox gym. This used to be the WWE gym that the Portland wrestlers used to work out of. I had no clue, and the gyms weren't that big of a deal back then. That was back in 91, I think. And so what happened was I joined a gym, 215 pounds. I was heavy. And so I joined, and I thought, I don't know any of this equipment. I know myself. I'm going to sabotage myself, and I'm going to stop. Just like I always did everything else, every diet, every yo-yo, all that kind of stuff, right? So I said, I need to get a trainer. Well, this was such a small gym, but I asked the owner's son, I said, is there any trainers? And they said, nope. But they said, one guy comes in occasionally and he's a trainer. And so I met him and I thought, okay, can he train me? And he was very nice, very kind. And I said, well, how much? And all that good stuff. And he said, well, let's get started. So one of my first meetings with him, he's like, well, what is your goals? What do you want to do? I'm like, lose weight. Isn't that what every girl's dream is, to lose weight? Okay. So he's like, okay, we can do that. But what is your end goal? What do you want to do? And very shy, very low self-esteem at that time, didn't believe in myself at that time. And so I said, well, don't laugh. These were the exact words. I said, don't laugh. But I've always admired the bodybuilders. And I've always dreamed to be just once on a bodybuilding stage. And I would love to do that. And I waited for him to laugh, and he didn't. He didn't laugh. What he said was, well, if that's what your goal is, then that's what we're going to start working on. And I'm like, aren't you going to laugh? And he's like, why would I laugh? Isn't that your dream? Isn't that what you want to do? And I went, well, yeah. So then we began to work hard. We worked very hard. I mean, this dude worked me every day, 5, 6 days a week for the first 6 months. And at 6 months, he said to me, and I was starting to get compliments at work at how much weight I dropped. I was down to 150 pounds at that point in time. So you got to remember, started out 215, 6 months later at 150 pounds. It was a difference. I was starting to feel good about myself. And I was starting to see people look at me differently. And I thought, this is really odd. This is not cool. But let me get to it. So anyway, he said, okay, now I want you to pick a competition 6 months out. And I laughed at him and I said, yeah, you're funny. I'm still 150 pounds. But remember, my mindset is not in the right place. I am still seeing myself at 215 pounds because my mindset is warped. It's not working right as far as the way I look at myself, the way I view things, the way I process things, everything like that. So he said, no, I'm serious. If you don't pick a competition 6 months out, I'll pick it for you. And so I said, okay. He goes, you let me know next training. Next training comes. What happens? He says, do you have a competition? I'm like, no, I really, I'm not ready for that. He's like, you okay? You're going to be doing the Pacific Coast and I'm going to do it with you. We'll support each other. You can actually put my Dioderm on me for this time. And I'm like, what the heck is Dioderm? That's the stuff that makes you orange. Okay. So long story short, we worked for that 6 months, and that 6 months out and about 12 weeks before the competition, I'm having to tan. I'm Irish. I don't tan. I burn, but I don't tan. So I had to start putting Dioderm. I had to find these little teeny posing suits. Man, I don't even know where mine is right now, but I've kind of probably put one leg in it. But the thing is, through this whole process, what I'm getting at is we got on stage. And in fact, being an abused person, getting on that stage, he had never seen me. I was too shy to show my body all the way up until competition. We did our posing routines. We did everything in my shorts and t-shirt. He never got to see my body. He never asked. He wished I would have, because then that way could help me with certain points. He could only see me certain legs. So when I had to strip down in the back area of the stage to weigh in, that was the first time he got to see me in competition form. And I had legs that would blow out all the girls. But the thing is that there's more even to it. But that was really the beginning of my work and the beginning of everything. So during that week during that competition time, that began a whole new journey. Well, during that year, everybody at Costco basically was seeing me change. Now, I had a friend there, and she's probably going to watch this, and I hope she's okay with it, but she stood by me through the whole thing. She stood by me not only during that first year of competition, but she held me up even right before competition. I didn't realize that I had mono and that I was struggling at work. I had no energy. When we were carb depleting right before the competition, that takes all your energy out, which I didn't even know I had mono. I was almost dropping over from the tiredness that it was creating, and also the dieting down and the carb depleting and things like that. But she stood by me, even took my position at work one day. I remember that to a T. But the other thing is, after the competition, that's when the actual process started working for the book. Because what happened was, during this time, I'm learning how to cook, how to eat differently, how to look at life completely different. We ended up creating a whole bunch of recipes, which ended up in the back of this book. But I didn't know if they were good or not, so I would take them to work at Costco and put them in the break room and say, can you guys try this? Tell me if it's good. So out of this, my girlfriend and I not only created that, but we also created a booth that had no fat, low fat muffins. And that was back in the day. Then she had the most awesomest carrot cake. And so people were wanting this stuff. Now, here's why the book actually came about is that while I was working at Costco one day, one lady came through my line who was already a publisher, and she had her book at Costco. And we just sort of talked a little bit about, yeah, I have this idea. She goes, go for it. Go for it. And so I was like, She came through my line again and said, go for it. So I knew the divine was talking to me to begin to write this book. While we're sitting here doing trade shows and cooking and making muffins and doing all this kind of stuff, it was something that people were asking, how do you do it? How do you do it? But even in that process, it wasn't about the body. Again, I was going back. Why? What is it? My mindset was beginning to change. The way that I was seeing things was beginning to change. My confidence was building. My self-worth was building. But was it because my body changed? No, it was because I was looking at myself differently, making my decisions, looking at me for what I was, not what other people were looking out for me and saying, oh, this is who defines you. This is, remember, I come from abuse. Oh, you're promiscuous. Oh, you lied about this, or you were a manipulator. I was breaking away from my old self and becoming a new person. Actually, the person that I was created to be, but my brain was processing so wrongly, I couldn't do that. So not only did it start to begin to change then, it began to change spiritually. Things were happening I've had gifts since I was a child. And these things were actually changing and growing and opening up. And I was a little scared at the time, but then I realized what the divine was doing for me. So what happened was I would actually begin to develop a daily weight management program to help those get their old habits broken and actually rebuild new habits, good, healthy habits, change your mind process, change your thinking. And you know what? Out of all when I went and got my nutrition and fitness degree, I am so unhappy with the nutrition and fitness industry at all, because during the time I wrote my book, which was back in my brother was murdered in 94, so 93 I think it was when it came out. Not one health person talked about the psychological problems of changing your diet or your fitness, and all they wanted to do was band-aid everything. When actually where your diet, your lifestyle, and everything you're doing starts here and here. So I decided to put in my book those aspects in there, not only, but like booting the bad habit. These are, and you would laugh at, I laugh at this now, this whole book now, but this is how it started. Booting the bad habits. And also too, anything about your habits, confidence and fear, things of those natures that actually will help you change your lifestyle and stick. But if you just start out with a diet, you're going to continue to yo-yo because you don't know why you're doing what you're doing and why it keeps cycling back, that you keep gaining weight. Some of it might be a biological thing, but out of all the women, because I used to manage gyms and I used to be a personal trainer and I used to be managing the personal training departments, out of all my women clients, majority of them have been abused. So it is a psychological thing to change and transform, rebuild, restore a mindset. That's how this came about. That's how this book came about. And if it wasn't for a couple of good friends, you know who you are, that helped me get through this, it would have never happened. I will say that the book actually wasn't going to happen like I said, in 90, I think it was in 90, the end of 93, I was halfway through it. No, I guess I was out in 94, but I was halfway through it and I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. My brother was murdered. and everything halted. Everything halted. But after his murder was done and home and started the healing process, Divine kept pushing me and pushing me to do this as my grief work. Okay, so my book actually is dedicated to my brother Bill. And the actual foreword in my book, when I was bodybuilding and training, is actually done by a wonderful, wonderful chiropractor, John Stady. And he's still my chiropractor today. Love him to pieces. And I thank everybody that actually did help me through my book. There was some saboteurs, and most of them were the ones that were the closest to me. But the ones that believed in me, and I mostly believed in myself, is why my dream got done. So halfway through, I finished because it was grief work, because it's something I wanted to dedicate to my brother. But also, too, I wanted to finish it. Didn't know why then, but I do now what the divine is thinking about. So that is why not only Get Balanced 2020 started, is for the mind, spirit, and body to hopefully help someone out there, but also for the divine warrior intuitive, because I will be that warrior for the divine. And some people just don't believe intuitiveness or gifts or spirits or abilities. But I do, because I have a lot of them. I'm an empath, and I try to help people through that as well. So this was about a New You cookbook. And this is why I wanted to share that with you, because I do keep getting asked questions about it. Now, my daughter keeps asking about this other book that I've been working on, if I have worked on it. I've been so busy with the YouTube channels, I haven't been able to. But hopefully this is a different kind of book. This is more of a spiritual book, more of a tell stories of ooh-ness and how my abilities actually started and how they affected my life as a young child, and how actually I came out in my late 50s and said, that's who I am, and this is who I am, and my abilities are what the divine has made me and allowed me to have. And I can't deny him the glory of that, or to help people. And I give him the glory for that. I'm the conduit. I'm the messenger. That's all I know. So this is all about. Now, if you have a question where to find the cookbook, when I was homeless, I had boxes and boxes and boxes of them in a storage. And unfortunately, that storage got confiscated. So I don't know where all those books went. But I did have books all over the United States. In Costco. Costco carried it all throughout the United States. Barnes and Nobles carried them. So you can find them on Amazon every now and then, or maybe some bookstores selling them. And you can get a good laugh out of them, just because I've done some of the cartoons. Steve Sandberg did some of the cartoons back from Costco days. He's a great little cartoonist. So we had fun just building the book. And I thank God for the opportunity. Now, at the very end of this, follow your dreams, follow your passions, follow your goals, follow that fire inside of you to do whatever it is that you're being pulled to do, because that's where the divine wants you to go. And the more you fight it, the louder he'll get. So just do it and enjoy it and embrace it. And I thank all of you who've helped me with a New You cookbook. This is dedicated to you. I'm going to start crying because, guys, I'm an empath and you guys mean a lot to me. Thanks, Christy. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, John. Thanks to Patty Wong, who actually did some of my editing, and so all the people involved. And Kyoto, the cover was done from my Japanese brother, Kyoto Hara, who is now a famous graphic designer in Japan. And I thank him for that. So thank you, everybody. And that's what a New You cookbook's about. Take care.